Is Triumph's Daytona 660 worthy of the Daytona name, or is it just a fully fared Trident? We came to southern Spain to find out. The thing that we like most about this new 660 is definitely the engine. The engine is based on the Trident 660 inline 3, but the differences are pretty big. This engine has a new crankshaft, it has 3 throttle bodies instead of the Trident's 1, it has a different exhaust cam, and the rev limit has been raised to 12,650 RPM, which gives it a little bit more top end. All of that combined raises the horsepower on this bike about 17% compared to the Trident, which is pretty big. Triumph claims 94 horsepower and about 51 pound-feet of torque, which is really interesting because that torque is about the same as the old 2017 Daytona 675R. So let's talk about riding on the street today. We did about 120 miles here around southern Spain, and the one thing that really stands out on this motorcycle is the engine. The throttle response is really good. You can use 2 or 3 different gear choices. You can really rev it out in second sometimes, but you could be in third, you could be in fourth, and the power's always there. It's just got really flat torque curve, and that's really different character than the parallel twins. It's got that torque that you expect of it when you're coming out of corners, but then when you really twist it on, it revs really nice and pulls harder up top than you would expect, and we really love that on the type of roads that we were on today. Now let's talk about the electronics. The Daytona 660 comes with ride-by-wire throttle, which has enabled them to give this bike some ride modes. So it's got 3 ride modes. It's got a rain, a sport, and street mode. It also has TC that can be disabled. The dash is pretty basic. It's got a TFT and an LCD combination dash. But at this price point for this bike, which is $9,195, it's overall pretty good as far as what you get out of it. So the chassis is also very similar to the Trident in some ways, but then in some ways it's not. The wheelbase is a little bit longer, but it's got more aggressive front end geometry, a steeper rake angle, it's got a little bit less trail. The rear shock is a Showa unit. It only has preload adjustability. The fork is a Showa separate function fork, big piston, and that is not adjustable. The suspension, it's good, it's not great, but for the type of roads that we did today, we were overall pretty happy with it. Same with the brakes. The braking package has a pair of radial mount 4-piston calipers with braided lines, and it's got an adjustable brake lever. I wouldn't say that the brakes are spectacular in any way, but they perform really well. Now let's talk about the ergonomics, because the ergonomics on this bike are kind of following the line of the new middleweight sport bikes that are out, bikes like the GSX 8R and the Aprilia RS 660 and the Yamaha YZF R7. All of these bikes kind of focus more on real-world performance. They have a little bit more upright seating positions and a little less cramped seat to foot peg range. The wind protection from the windscreen is really good. The seat in particular was very comfortable. It kicks up at the back and kind of gets your back in a nice position and really gets you into a comfortable zone. And the leg position's great. I'm 5'11" and I was totally happy. I never felt like my legs were cramped today. And that's kind of where this new generation of sport bikes is going. I think people want a little bit more comfortable seating positions and more practicality for everyday riding, but they still want it to be sporty. Now let's talk about the styling. I think the buyers out there want something sporty looking, but they definitely don't want it to be as hardcore as the 675R was back in the day, which was really a super sport homologation special. So the question that we started out with was, is this new Daytona 660 really worthy of the Daytona name? And the answer is kind of yes and no. It really depends on what you expect from a Daytona sport bike. If your perception is that a Daytona sport bike is a hardcore super sport machine, this bike is not that at all. But if you're looking for a Triumph sport bike that performs very well, is comfortable, has great ergonomics and a nice engine and good performing suspension and a good performing chassis, then yes, it lives up to the Daytona name. I think it's definitely not the hardcore super sport bikes of the past, but it doesn't have to be, because I think everything has changed and people are really looking for this, and Triumph's done a great job delivering on this bike. I think it'll be really interesting to see how it compares against the competition, because most of the competition are twin-cylinder engines, and the Triumph's triple has so much more character than a lot of those bikes. So as always, if you like what you see, comment, like, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.